17 massive ships hung in the sky like dark stars. Each one was bigger than anything humans had ever built. The largest ship had moved closer to Earth and now floated between our planet and the moon. People could see it at night as a black spot that blocked part of the moon. All across Earth, fear spread quickly. In some cities, people ran from their homes with whatever they could carry. In others, they gathered in churches, mosques, and temples to pray. World leaders tried to calm their people, but they too were afraid. Dr. Kate Williams worked day and night in her lab. The hidden signal from the alien ships contained mountains of data. As a quantum physicist, she understood things most people couldn't. But even she struggled with the alien technology described in the data. "Greg, look at this," she said to her colleague. Greg Johnson was the best AI specialist in the country. He had created systems that could learn and adapt faster than any others. Greg looked at her screen. "What am I seeing?" "They're power systems. They don't use nuclear energy or even antimatter. They harvest energy directly from quantum fluctuations in space-time." Greg whistled. "That's at least 1,000 years beyond our technology." Kate nodded. "But there's more. Look at their history files." She pulled up new screens filled with images and text their computers had translated. The images showed planets, beautiful worlds with oceans and forests and cities. Then the same planets changed, stripped of resources, populations reduced and controlled, working in mines and factories. "Integration," Kate said quietly. "This is what they do. They don't destroy planets unless they have to. They turn them into resource factories. And the people become workers. Slaves." Greg swallowed hard. "And assessment?" Kate pulled up another file. "They test humans to see who is useful, strong enough to work in mines, smart enough to operate machines. The rest are—" She couldn't finish the sentence. "We have to tell the president," Greg said. Across the globe, military forces prepared for a fight they couldn't win. Fighter jets and missiles would be useless against ships that could travel between stars, but humanity would not surrender without trying to defend itself. At the Pentagon, Colonel Jack Nelson met with leaders from every major military power. Old enemies sat side by side, united by a common threat. "Based on what we've learned," Nelson said, pointing to screens showing the alien fleet, a direct attack would fail. Their technology is too advanced, but Dr. Williams has discovered something interesting in their data. He nodded to Kate, who stood up nervously. She wasn't used to speaking to rooms full of generals. The hegemony, that's what they call themselves, has conquered hundreds of worlds over thousands of years. But their empire isn't stable. Many of the species they've integrated still resist. There's an underground movement, a resistance network spread across their territory. The room filled with whispers. A Chinese general raised his hand. "How do we contact this resistance?" Kate looked to Greg, who took over. "We've found communication protocols in the data, ways their conquered worlds talk to each other secretly. If we can use those channels, we might reach potential allies." Colonel Nelson stood again. "That's our plan. While we pretend to prepare for assessment, we'll actually be trying to contact the resistance. It's a long shot, but it's the best hope we have." Outside the meeting, Susan Parker waited with her linguistics team. When Nelson emerged, she approached him. "Colonel, we've made progress with their language. We can now communicate directly if needed." Nelson nodded. "Good. We may need to buy time with talk while our real plan develops." Susan hesitated. "There's something else. Their language contains subtle threats and assumptions of superiority. These beings don't see us as equals. They never will. No matter what we say, they expect us to submit. Then we won't waste time trying to change their minds," Nelson said grimly. "We'll focus on finding allies who already hate them." 15 days had passed since the ultimatum, halfway to the assessment deadline. Around the world, governments told their people to remain calm and go about their normal lives. But nothing was normal anymore. In New Mexico, Alan Wright and Lisa Martinez continued monitoring signals from the fleet. They had built a special receiver to capture the hidden data channel Kate had discovered. "The secondary transmissions have increased," Lisa noted. Much more data is flowing between the ships. Alan studied the patterns. They're arguing, he said suddenly. What? How can you tell? The communication patterns. See how they interrupt each other? How the signals overlap and cut off? That's not how you share information efficiently. That's an argument. Lisa leaned closer to the screen. You're right. But what are they arguing about? Before Alan could answer, a new signal appeared, stronger than before and directed specifically at their station. They know we're listening, Alan whispered. The signal translated itself into English text on their screen. Cease your intrusion into secure channels or face immediate consequences. Alan's hand moved to shut down their system, but Lisa stopped him. Wait. If they wanted to destroy us, they would have done it already. The fact that they're warning us means something. It means they don't want us to see their secrets, Alan said. Exactly. And that gives us leverage. At the White House, President Howard received hourly updates. The situation seemed hopeless. Humanity faced an enemy with technology so advanced, it might as well be magic. But humans had one advantage. The hegemony didn't know how much information had leaked through their hidden channel. Kate Williams and Greg Johnson had made another discovery. The ships above Earth weren't all under unified command. The fleet had political divisions. Some captains believed in strict domination of lesser species like humans. Others preferred more gentle methods of control. This division might be exploited. In a secure facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, Susan Parker worked with a team of engineers to modify Earth's most powerful radio telescope. They were building a transmitter that could use the resistance communication protocols Kate had found. If this works, Susan told her team, we'll be able to send a message that the hegemony ships can't detect, but resistance sympathizers can. And if there aren't any sympathizers in the fleet? An engineer asked. Then we try to reach beyond our solar system, to worlds already under hegemony control. According to the data we've intercepted, resistance cells exist on at least 30 integrated planets. The modified transmitter took shape. Day and night, workers added parts and tested systems. They had less than 2 weeks before assessment began. Colonel Nelson visited the facility to check on progress. He found Susan working at her computer, her eyes red from lack of sleep. Will it be ready in time? He asked. Susan nodded tiredly. Yes, but we still don't know what to say. One message, Colonel. We get one chance to change our fate. Nelson sat beside her. What have you come up with so far? Appeals for help, offers of alliance, promises to fight alongside the resistance, if they help us. And none of that feels right? Susan shook her head. The hegemony has heard it all before. Every world they target probably begs for help. We need something different, something that will make them take us seriously. Nelson thought for a moment. What if instead of asking for help, we offer it? What if we show them we know more than they think we do? Susan's eyes widened. A warning. We warn them that we know about the resistance, about their internal divisions, that we've decoded their technology, that we're ready to share what we know with everyone if they don't negotiate fairly. It's bold, Nelson said. Maybe too bold. They might just destroy us immediately. Or they might hesitate, just long enough for help to arrive. If there is any help out there. As they refined their message, the hegemony ships continued their preparations. Small probes descended into Earth's atmosphere, taking samples of air, water, and soil. They scanned cities and infrastructure. They were assessing Earth's value as a resource. In orbit, satellites picked up energy readings from the fleet. Weapons were being prepared. The hegemony wasn't taking any chances with this integration. 10 days before the assessment deadline, Earth was ready to send its message. The modified transmitter pointed toward the fleet. Susan Parker had crafted the text, carefully, making it both a warning and an invitation. President Howard gave the final approval. Send it, he told Susan over a secure line, and pray someone friendly is listening. Susan took a deep breath and pressed the transmission key. Earth's message, its single warning to the galactic hegemony, shot upward at the speed of light. Know about the resistance. We have decoded your technologies. Either negotiate fairly or face consequences not just from us, but from within your own ranks. For several long minutes, nothing happened. Then, without warning, 3 of the 17 hegemony ships broke formation. They powered up engines and weapon systems. The battle for Earth's future had begun. 2 days had passed since Earth sent its warning message to the hegemony fleet. 2 days of battle in the skies above the planet. The space around Earth now filled with debris from damaged and destroyed ships. Some pieces had fallen to Earth, mostly burning up in the atmosphere, but a few larger chunks had hit the ground or the ocean, causing damage and casualties. Colonel Jack Nelson hadn't slept in over 48 hours. He stood in the command center beneath the Rocky Mountains watching screens that showed the battle. His eyes were red, his uniform wrinkled. "Sir, you need to rest," an aide said, offering him coffee. Nelson took the cup but shook his head. "Not until this is over, one way or another." The situation remained tense. The Loyalist hegemony forces had lost 3 ships, but still outnumbered the rebels. The rebels fought defensively, protecting Earth while waiting for reinforcements. In orbit, the Loyalist commander ordered a new strategy. The remaining ships formed a battle line and began a coordinated attack on the rebel positions. Energy beams lanced across space, striking rebel shields with devastating force. On Earth, scientists watched the battle with growing concern. "The rebels can't hold out much longer," Kate Williams said, as she studied the energy readings. "Their shields are failing." Greg Johnson nodded grimly. "And if they fall, there's nothing stopping the Loyalists from carrying out their threat to sterilize the planet." Kate looked at her notes, thinking, "Maybe there is. Our nuclear disruption worked." "Once, why not try again?" "We've used almost all our nuclear weapons," Greg reminded her, "and the Loyalists have adapted their shields. The same trick won't work twice." Kate smiled thinly. "Who said anything about the same trick? I've been studying the data. Their power systems rely on quantum field manipulation. If we can't disrupt their shields directly, maybe we can attack their power source." The plan came together quickly. Earth would use its remaining nuclear missiles, but this time modified differently. Instead of targeting shield frequencies, they would generate interference patterns in the quantum fields the ships used for power. As preparations began, Alan Wright detected new signals from deep space. "They're coming," he shouted to Lisa Martinez, who rushed to his side. On his screen, sensor data showed multiple objects approaching the solar system at incredible speed. The Alliance reinforcements were ahead of schedule. "How long until they arrive?" Lisa asked. Alan checked the calculations. 6 hours, maybe less. They're pushing their engines to the limit. Lisa bit her lip. "Can the rebels hold out that long?" Alan couldn't answer. The rebel ships were taking heavy damage. One had already gone silent, its systems destroyed. The others fought bravely, but they were outgunned and outnumbered. The modified missiles were ready. Earth launched its second attack, a smaller volley this time. Just 8 missiles, all that remained of Earth's nuclear arsenal. The Loyalist ships detected the launch and responded immediately. Point defense systems fired, destroying 3 missiles. But 5 got through and detonated at precise distances from the largest Loyalist vessel. The effect wasn't immediately obvious. No shields flickered, no systems failed. For a moment it seemed the attack had done nothing. Then slowly, power readings from the target ship began to fluctuate. Its weapons fired erratically. Its engines surged and died. "It's working," Kate exclaimed, watching the readings. "The quantum field disruption is cascading through their systems." The affected ship drifted out of formation, its weapons no longer a threat. The Loyalist attack faltered as the remaining ships adjusted their positions to compensate for the loss. The rebels seized the opportunity. They concentrated their fire on a second Loyalist vessel, breaking through its weakened shields and damaging its main power core. The ship didn't explode. Hegemony technology included too many safety systems for that. But it lost all offensive capability. With 2 ships effectively neutralized, the battle evened out. The rebels gained confidence, pressing their attack with renewed vigor. Colonel Nelson received the reports with cautious optimism. "How long until the Alliance ships arrive?" he asked Alan Wright over a secure channel. 5 hours, sir. Maybe less." Nelson nodded. "And can the rebels hold out that long?" "It's still touch and go," Alan admitted, "but their chances are better now." Around the world, people watched the sky. The battle was visible even in daylight, flashes of energy like lightning without clouds. At night, it looked like a fireworks display that never ended. In homes and shelters, in hospitals and emergency centers, humans helped each other and waited. They had done all they could. Now the fate of their world rested with alien allies they had never met, fighting an enemy they barely understood. 4 hours passed. The battle continued, neither side gaining a clear advantage. 2 more rebel ships took heavy damage but remained operational. The Loyalists lost another vessel to a combined attack that overwhelmed its defenses. Alan Wright's equipment detected new energy signatures entering the solar system. "They're here," he told Lisa. "The Alliance fleet has arrived." The first Alliance. Ships appeared at the edge of the solar system, decelerating rapidly from near light speed. There were dozens of them, of various sizes and designs, clearly built by different species with different technologies. The Loyalists detected the new arrivals and realized they were now hopelessly outnumbered. Their formation broke as individual captains made different choices. Some turned to flee, others prepared for a final stand. The largest remaining Loyalist vessel, the one that had threatened Earth directly, sent a final message. "This act of rebellion will not stand. The hegemony controls 1,000,000 worlds. Your resistance is meaningless. We will return and Earth will burn." The ship fired its engines and accelerated away from Earth, attempting to escape before the Alliance fleet could engage. 2 other Loyalist vessels followed. The Alliance ships divided their forces. Some moved to protect Earth, others pursued the fleeing Loyalists. The first shots were fired between them far beyond the moon's orbit. On Earth, Susan Parker received a new transmission. Not from the rebels or the Loyalists, but from the Alliance fleet itself. She worked quickly to translate it, then brought it to Colonel Nelson. "This is Commander Xylith of the Free Species Alliance," the message began. "People of Earth, your warning message has triggered the rebellion decades earlier than planned. We thank you for your courage and apologize for our late arrival. The revolution has spread to 17 hegemony worlds already. Today marks the beginning of the end for their empire." Nelson read the message twice, then looked up at Susan. "We did it? We actually did it?" Susan nodded, tears in her eyes. "We did. Earth is safe. At least for now." The news spread around the world. Celebrations erupted in cities and towns everywhere. After days of fear and uncertainty, humanity could breathe again. But Colonel Nelson and others in positions of knowledge remained cautious. The Loyalist threat to return couldn't be ignored, and while the Alliance appeared friendly, they were still aliens with unknown motives. As the last Loyalist ships fled the solar system, pursued by Alliance vessels, a smaller ship detached from the main Alliance fleet and approached Earth. It was about the size of a naval aircraft carrier, tiny compared to the hegemony vessels, but still impressive. The ship took up position in low Earth orbit and requested permission to send representatives to the surface. After brief consultation among world leaders, permission was granted. A landing site was prepared at a military base in neutral Switzerland. Security was tight, with forces from multiple nations standing guard. No one knew what to expect from Earth's first official alien visitors. Alan Wright and Lisa Martinez were invited to attend, along with Susan Parker, Kate Williams, Greg Johnson, and Colonel Nelson. They had all played key roles in Earth's defense and earned the right to be present for this historic moment. The Alliance ship sent down a shuttle, a sleek craft that descended silently, its propulsion system invisible to human eyes. It landed, gently on the prepared pad. For a long moment, nothing happened. The crowd of officials, scientists, and security personnel waited in tense silence. Then a door opened in the shuttle's side. A ramp extended to the ground, and Earth's first alien visitors emerged, They looked nothing like humans expected. Commander. Alan Wright yawned as he stared at the computer screen. The clock on the wall showed 2:30 a.m., another late night at the SETI Institute in New Mexico. For 15 years, he had searched the stars for signs of alien life. Most of his colleagues had given up hope, but Alan remained stubborn. His eyes grew heavy as the computer continued its automatic scan of the Kepler 186 system. The soft hum of the equipment nearly lulled him to sleep when a sharp beep jolted him awake. On his screen, a pattern appeared. Not random noise, not a glitch. It repeated with perfect precision every 47 seconds. Alan's heart raced as he checked and double-checked the signal. "This can't be real," he whispered to himself, adjusting his glasses. But the pattern continued, clear and unmistakable. With shaking hands, he reached for his phone and called Lisa, Martinez, his closest colleague. "Lisa, I need you here now," he said, his voice tight with excitement. "Alan, it's the middle of the night," she groaned. "I found something. A real signal. Not natural, not from Earth." 30 minutes later, Lisa rushed into the lab, her curly hair still messy from sleep. Alan pointed at his screen without a word. "Is this a joke?" she asked after studying the pattern. "I've confirmed it 3 times. It's coming from Kepler 186f. And Lisa, it has structure. Mathematical sequences. They worked through the night analyzing the signal. By morning they had decoded parts of it. Numbers. Simple math at first. Prime numbers, the value of pi. Basic constants. Then star maps. And on one map, a clear marker pointing to Earth. Next to Earth's position was a symbol. Something like a target. "We need to call the director," Lisa said, her earlier excitement replaced by worry. Within days, NASA confirmed Alan's discovery. More alarming, they detected objects moving toward our solar system. Fast. Too fast for natural objects. The speed suggested technology far beyond human capability. The news didn't reach the public right away. World leaders met in secret. Military bases around the globe went on high alert. Scientists were gathered from every major research institution. Susan Parker, who taught linguistics at Georgetown University, sat in a windowless room at the Pentagon. She had been brought in by helicopter the previous night, with only a brief explanation. National security, alien contact protocol. Across from her sat Colonel Jack Nelson, a stern-faced man with short gray hair and perfect posture. He slid a folder across the table. "Dr. Parker, we need to establish communication. You're one of the world's top experts in language structure and pattern recognition." Susan opened the folder and stared at the signal printouts. "These are clearly artificial patterns, communication attempts. Can you respond? Create a message they might understand?" Susan tapped her pen against the table. "Maybe. All communication shares certain basics. Math is universal. I can start there." For the next week, Susan led a team of linguists and mathematicians in developing response protocols. They created messages based on mathematical principles, hoping the aliens would recognize them as intelligent communication. Meanwhile, the approaching objects slowed as they reached the outer edges of the solar system. 17 massive ships, each larger than any structure humans had ever built, took positions beyond Mars. President Howard addressed the nation. "My fellow Americans, we are not alone in the universe. We have made contact with an advanced civilization from beyond our solar system. They have traveled great distances to reach us. We do not yet know their intentions, but we approach this historic moment with hope and caution." What the president didn't share was the target symbol found in the original transmission or the military assessment. These visitors might not come in peace. In the New Mexico desert, Alan and Lisa continued analyzing new signals. The aliens now broadcast regularly, but the messages remained cryptic. "There's something odd about the radiation signature," Alan said, pointing to a graph. "See this secondary frequency? It contains different data." Lisa focused her equipment on this hidden channel. What they found chilled them both. Images of planets followed by the same planets destroyed or dramatically altered. A warning, a threat, A history of conquest? At the Pentagon, Susan's team made a breakthrough. They decoded enough of the alien language to recognize patterns similar to Earth languages. "It's as if they already know how we communicate," she told Colonel Nelson. "That shouldn't be possible unless they've been watching us for a very long time." The colonel's face remained impassive, but his eyes betrayed concern. "Or unless they've done this before, made contact with other civilizations similar to ours." Susan nodded slowly. "My team found references to other star systems. Many of them. Always the same pattern. Contact, then something called integration." "What does integration mean in this context?" "We're not sure, but based on the language patterns, it doesn't sound voluntary." In orbit around Earth, satellites detected energy surges from the alien fleet. Something was happening. Colonel Nelson gathered his top officers. "All signs point to these aliens not being friendly visitors. We need to prepare for the worst while hoping for the best." The largest alien ship moved closer, positioning itself between Earth and the Moon. Its size became apparent as it eclipsed part of the lunar surface from Earth's view. People around the world could see it at night with the naked eye, a dark shape against the Moon. Then, exactly 30 days after first detection, all communication devices on Earth, televisions, radios, phones, computers, broadcast the same message simultaneously. "Inhabitants of Earth, you are hereby notified of your integration into the galactic hegemony. Resistance is futile and will result in planetary sterilization. Compliance will be rewarded. You have 30 Earth days to prepare for assessment." The message played in perfect English, then repeated in every major human language. Panic spread across the globe. Some people rioted. Others prayed. Many fled cities for the countryside, though no place on Earth seemed safe from visitors who could control all communication technology at once. In her lab, Dr. Kate Williams, a quantum physicist, noticed something strange about the transmission. Like Alan had discovered earlier, there was a hidden signal beneath the main broadcast. Working with AI specialist Greg Johnson, she isolated this secondary stream. "This isn't just a message," she said as data filled her screen. "It's technical information, specifications, details about their technology." Greg leaned closer. "And more. Look, histories of other planets they've integrated. It's like their entire database is leaking through this channel." As they processed more information, the truth became clear. Integration meant enslavement. Assessment meant determining which humans were useful enough to keep alive, and Earth had less than 30 days to find a way to survive. Chaos erupted among the alien fleet. 3 ships broke away from the main group, their massive engines glowing bright blue against the blackness of space. From Earth, they looked like new stars appearing in the daytime sky. Inside the military bunker under the Rocky Mountains, Colonel Nelson stared at the satellite feed. "What are they doing?" he asked no one in particular. Susan Parker stood beside him, her face pale. "Our message worked. Too well, maybe." Energy readings from the 3 breakaway ships spiked. They were powering up weapon systems. But they weren't aiming at Earth. They were targeting the other ships in the fleet. "They're fighting each other," Nelson said, his voice filled with disbelief. Susan nodded slowly. "Our warning must have triggered something. Maybe there were resistant sympathizers aboard those ships all along, just waiting for the right moment." Reports flooded in from observatories around the world. The alien fleet had split into factions. 7 ships pulled back to defensive positions far from Earth. The other 10, including the 3 that moved first, arranged themselves in battle formation. Communications from the fleet became jumbled and contradictory. The aliens were no longer speaking with one voice. "Inhabitants of Earth disregard previous transmissions," came one message. "The integration process is suspended pending internal review." Minutes later, a different message. "Earth will be sterilized immediately for interference in hegemony affairs. Prepare for planetary destruction." The conflicting orders continued as energy readings from the ships climbed higher. At the SETI Institute, in New Mexico, Alan Wright detected something new. Not from the ships above Earth, but from deep space. He called Lisa Martinez immediately. More ships, he told her when she arrived at his telescope, coming from at least 3 different directions. Lisa studied the readings. Are they hegemony? Ships too? I don't think so. Their energy signatures are different, and they're broadcasting on frequencies similar to the resistance protocol we found. Alan and Lisa contacted the Pentagon with their discovery. Colonel Nelson relayed the information to world leaders gathered in emergency session at the United Nations. Earth is about to become a battlefield, Nelson explained. The good news is that not all the aliens want to destroy us. The bad news is that they'll likely destroy each other above our heads. The debris alone could devastate our planet. President Howard spoke up from the American delegation. What are our options? Dr. Kate Williams stepped forward. She had been working non-stop analyzing hegemony technology. We may have one advantage. The hegemony doesn't think we understand their technology, but we've had access to their technical data for weeks now. We might be able to affect the battle. How? Demanded the Russian president. Their ships use quantum shielding, Kate explained. Based on the data we've decoded, we believe we can modify our nuclear weapons to generate radiation signatures that will penetrate those shields. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. You want to launch nuclear weapons into space? The Chinese president asked finally. Kate nodded. Not to destroy the ships. They're too massive for that. But to disrupt their systems long enough for the resistance forces to engage them. After hours of debate, the plan was approved. Military forces around the world prepared their most powerful nuclear missiles for space launch. Scientists worked frantically to modify the warheads according to Kate's specifications. Meanwhile, the battle above Earth began. The first shots were fired between hegemony ships, streaks of energy so powerful they were visible from the ground, even in daylight. Where the beams hit, shields flared bright white. When shields failed, the results were catastrophic. Explosions that briefly outshone the sun. One of the smaller ships, roughly the size of Manhattan, broke apart under concentrated fire. Debris scattered, most of it burning up in space, but some larger pieces remained on dangerous trajectories toward Earth. Space agencies tracked the debris, predicting impact zones. Evacuations began in threatened areas. The hegemony civil war had already claimed its first human casualties. In orbit, satellites caught detailed images of the battle. The ships that had broken formation first, the apparent rebels, were taking heavy damage from the loyalist forces. 2 of them retreated behind Earth, using the planet itself as a shield. They're protecting us, Susan realized as she watched. The feed. Or at least they're protecting themselves and we benefit by accident. Earth's modified nuclear missiles were ready. 26 of them, launched from submarines, mobile platforms, and hardened silos. They shot upward on pillars of flame, carrying humanity's desperate countermeasure. The missiles targeted the loyalist hegemony ships, the ones still broadcasting threats to sterilize Earth. As they approached, point defense systems on the alien vessels fired, destroying some missiles mid-flight. But most got through. They detonated not against the ship's hulls but at calculated distances. The specialized radiation spread outward, invisible but effective. When it hit the quantum shields, it didn't destroy them. It changed them, altering their frequency and stability. The shields wavered, flickered, and in some cases failed entirely. The loyalist ships suddenly found themselves vulnerable, not just to Earth's weapons, but to attacks from the rebel faction. Alan Wright, still monitoring deep space signals, received confirmation that the incoming ships were indeed allies. Free. Species Alliance vessels will arrive in 72 hours, the message said. Hold your position. The revolution has begun. 3 days. Earth needed to survive just 3 more days. The battle intensified. With their shields compromised, the loyalist ships took serious damage. But they were far from defenseless. Their weapons tore through space, striking rebel vessels and occasionally hitting Earth's atmosphere, causing auroras and electromagnetic disturbances that knocked out power grids across entire continents. As the nuclear disruption began to fade, the loyalist ships regained some shield function. They adjusted tactics, moving 3 of their largest vessels into low Earth orbit. From this position, They could more effectively target the rebels and threaten the planet directly. Greg Johnson, working with military cyber units, saw an opportunity. The shield disruption had affected more than just defenses. It had created vulnerabilities in the ship's computer systems. "We found backdoors in their network architecture," he told Colonel Nelson. "The radiation affected quantum encryption keys. We might be able to access their control systems." Nelson gave immediate approval. "Do whatever you can. We need those ships out of firing position." Greg led a team of the world's best hackers in the most important cyber attack in human history. They used the backdoors to plant viruses, trigger system failures, and in one case, completely shut down a ship's power distribution network. The largest Loyalist vessel suddenly went dark, all its lights and energy signatures disappearing. It drifted, dead in space. The second target ship suffered multiple system failures, its weapons powering down and engines firing randomly, pushing it out of Earth orbit. The third ship, however, detected the intrusion. It sealed its systems, cutting off the human hackers. Then it fired its main weapon directly at Earth, a sustained energy beam aimed at North America. The beam hit the atmosphere and began to penetrate. Temperatures in the beam path rose rapidly. Cities in the projected impact zone went from evacuation to full panic. But before the weapon could reach the ground, one of the rebel ships moved into the beam's path. Its already damaged shields flared one last time and failed completely. The beam cut the ship in half, but its sacrifice saved millions of lives on Earth. The remains of the rebel ship fell toward Earth, breaking apart in the atmosphere. Most pieces burned up, but some larger sections hit the ocean, creating tsunami warnings across the Pacific. With the immediate threat reduced, humanity watched and waited. The battle continued above them, but at a diminished pace. Both sides had taken heavy losses. The Loyalists still outnumbered the rebels, but the rebels fought with desperate intensity, knowing Earth's survival, and perhaps the future of the rebellion, depended on them holding out until reinforcements arrived. In 4. Underground bunkers on naval vessels and in hardened command centers around the world, human leaders monitored the situation. There was nothing more they could do now except wait and hope that their single warning message had indeed changed everything. Alan Wright continued tracking the incoming Alliance ships. "They're accelerating," he told Lisa as they watched the readings. "They'll be here sooner than expected, maybe within 48 hours. Lisa squeezed his arm. "Can we hold out that long?" Alan looked at the battle raging above their world. "We have to." In the bunker under the Rocky Mountains, Susan Parker worked on translating more of the rebel communications. "They keep referring to something called the Great Liberation," she told Colonel Nelson. "It seems our message didn't just trigger a rebellion in the fleet. It may have started a revolution throughout the entire hegemony." Nelson nodded grimly. "Let's hope we survive to see it." The hours ticked by. The battle above Earth reached a stalemate. The Loyalist forces controlled more ships but couldn't press their advantage. The rebels held defensive positions, protecting Earth while conserving their remaining strength. Commander Xylith stepped from the shuttle and stood before the gathered humans. He was tall, nearly 8 feet, with a body covered in iridescent scales that shifted colors in the sunlight. His 4 arms ended in delicate 6-fingered hands. His face was vaguely insect-like, with large compound eyes that reflected the world in countless tiny facets. Behind him came others, representatives of the Free Species Alliance. Each looked completely different from both humans and Xylith. One floated rather than walked, its body a collection of transparent sacs filled with gas. Another moved on dozens of small tentacles, its upper body covered in what looked like fine fur. Colonel Nelson stepped forward as Earth's representative. He had practiced what to say, but the words stuck in his throat as he faced these truly alien beings. Commander Xylith spoke first, his voice translated by a small device on his chest. "People of Earth, I bring greetings from 17 free species. For 10,000 years the hegemony has consumed worlds. You were meant to be simply the next conquest. Instead, you became the catalyst for freedom." Nelson found his voice at last. "We welcome you to Earth, Commander, And we thank you for your help. Xylith's scales rippled in what might have been a smile. No, Colonel. It is we who thank you. Your single warning message accomplished what decades of secret resistance could not. You exposed the hegemony's weaknesses and forced them to reveal their divisions. In doing so, you gave hope to billions of beings across the galaxy. The Alliance representatives were taken to a conference center where world leaders waited. There, in a room designed for international diplomacy, the first formal meeting between humanity and alien species began. President Howard spoke for Earth. We want to understand what happens now. The hegemony has been driven from our system, but they threaten to return. Are we safe? Xylith's translator conveyed his response. For now, yes. The rebellion has spread faster than we dared hope. 17 hegemony worlds have declared independence already. Their military forces are divided and confused. But the hegemony still controls vast territories. This war has only just begun. And Earth's role in this war? Asked the Chinese president. A different Alliance member responded, the one with the floating gas-filled body. Its translator produced a musical voice. We offer Earth membership in the Alliance as equals, not subjects. Your technology is primitive compared to ours, but your strategy and courage have proven invaluable. You did what none of our species could. You bluffed the most powerful empire in the galaxy using nothing but words and determination. The meeting continued for hours. The Alliance explained the full history of the hegemony, how it had begun as a single conquering species that gradually enslaved hundreds of others, how resistance had always existed but never coordinated effectively until now. They offered Earth protection, technology, and knowledge. In return, they asked for human creativity, strategic thinking, and a base of operations in the solar system. Your system is valuable, Xylith explained. It sits at a junction of natural space-time corridors that allow faster-than-light travel. The hegemony wanted it for military reasons. We need it for Alliance communication and defense. The negotiations lasted for days. Scientists, diplomats, and military leaders from around the world worked together to secure the best agreement for Earth. Kate Williams led a team studying Alliance technology. Susan Parker worked with linguists to improve translation systems. Greg Johnson collaborated with alien computer specialists to develop shared information networks. Alan Wright and Lisa Martinez returned to their observatory, now enhanced with Alliance sensors. They could see farther into space than any human had before, detecting distant battles as the rebellion spread across the galaxy. It's really happening, Lisa said as they watched the data flow in. Because of us. Because of one message. Alan nodded. Not just because of the message, because of what the message contained. We didn't beg for help or offer surrender. We showed strength. We showed that we understood their weakness. 1 month after Earth's warning triggered the rebellion, representatives from all 17 free species gathered at the United Nations for a formal treaty signing. The event was broadcast worldwide. Humans everywhere watched as their planet officially joined the galactic community. Commander Xylith addressed the assembly. Today marks a new chapter for both your world and ours. The fight against the hegemony continues, but no longer in secret. Together, we will build a galaxy where no species dominates another. Colonel Nelson, now serving as Earth security liaison to the Alliance, stood next to Xylith. Earth has much to learn from our new allies, he told the assembly. But we also have much to offer. Our history is filled with struggles for freedom against oppression. Those lessons will serve us well in the fight ahead. The Alliance established bases on Earth's moon and on Mars. They shared technology selectively, being careful not to overwhelm human society with too much change too quickly. Faster-than-light communication came first, allowing instant contact with Alliance forces throughout the galaxy. Medical advances followed, curing diseases that had plagued humanity for centuries. Susan Parker led the team establishing cultural exchanges with Alliance members. She organized the first human delegation to visit an alien world, a water planet where cities floated on vast oceans, and the inhabitants looked like a cross between dolphins and octopuses. They were enslaved for 3,000 years, she told, Colonel Nelson upon her return. Now they're free and they credit Earth for their liberation. Our story has spread everywhere. We've become a symbol of resistance. Kate Williams and Greg Johnson worked with Alliance engineers to develop new defensive systems for Earth. The hegemony remained a threat, with loyalist forces still controlling significant territories. They won't forget us, Kate warned during a security briefing. Sooner or later they'll try to retake the solar system, Greg nodded. But we'll be ready, and we won't be alone. Earth changed rapidly over the following months. The knowledge that humans were not alone in the universe affected everything: religion, politics, art, science. Some people struggled with the new reality. Others embraced it enthusiastically. Cities built landing pads for Alliance ships. Universities established departments of xenobiology and alien linguistics. Children played with toys representing the different Alliance species. Through it all, humanity maintained its independence. The Alliance offered guidance but not control. They remembered well what it was like to live under the hegemony's rule and had no desire to become new oppressors. In space, the war continued. The hegemony fought desperately to maintain its empire. The Alliance gained territory system by system, planet by planet. Human military observers joined Alliance ships, learning space combat tactics while sharing Earth's long history of strategic thinking. Alan Wright returned to his observatory, now part of an interstellar early warning network. He still searched the stars, but no longer for first contact. Now he looked for signs of hegemony fleets, for planets sending distress signals, for any indication that the war was moving closer to Earth. One night, as he adjusted his instruments, Lisa Martinez joined him. "Any news from the front?" she asked. Alan shook his head. "All quiet tonight. The Alliance pushed the hegemony back from the Centauri system last week. We're safe for now." Lisa looked up through the observatory dome, at the stars. "Do you ever think about how different things might have been? If we hadn't detected their signal? If we hadn't decoded their data? Or if we hadn't sent that warning?" Alan added. "One message. That's all it took to change the course of Galactic Sea. History." Lisa smiled. "Not just the message, the messenger. Earth, humanity. We were supposed to be just another conquest, another resource to be used up. Instead, we became the spark that lit the fire of revolution." Outside the observatory, new buildings rose. Alliance communication centers, research facilities, cultural exchange hubs. Earth was changing, growing, becoming something more than it had been. Not a subject world of a vast empire, but a founding member of a new galactic alliance. And it all began with a single warning that changed everything.